President.
Senator from Rhode Island.
Mr. President, thank you very much. I'm here at the floor today to talk about President Trump's completely fake energy emergency, which is nothing more than a pretext to move money from the pockets of Americans to his big fossil fuel mega donors. You may remember that he had a meeting with big fossil fuel donors and asked for $1 billion in campaign money in return for giving them whatever they want. Well, I don't know that he got $1 billion, but he got hundreds of millions, and sure enough, he's giving them everything that they want. But the side effect of the fossil fuel industry having ownership and control over the Trump administration and all of its policies and decisions is that people's electricity rates are going to go up. They're already going up, and they're going to go up more. This graph shows how voters are feeling about electricity prices, and it says most voters are feeling some pain from electricity prices. This is already, it is going to get worse. Already, 26% of Americans say it has a lot of impact on their lives. 31% say a decent amount of impact on their lives. Another 30, a little bit. Only 9% say none at all. It's cool. Electric prices are good with me. So that's a pretty big hit. Even among Republicans, 25% say it hits them a lot, 29% say it hits them a decent amount, and 32% say it hits them a little bit. Only 11 say none at all. Electric prices are cool. So electric prices are going up, and they're going up big time, and they're going up for deliberate reasons. The one deliberate reason has to do with the AI, crypto, tech bros, data centers problem. As you know, the data center crypto people gave a lot of money to Donald Trump. They're big political donors. They're getting pretty much everything they want from this administration. In return, they're making the Trump family hugely rich in crypto billions. But in the meantime, they are driving people's electric prices up. And they're doing so this way. This is an interesting graph. This shows places where electric bills are going down. Blue means the prices are going down. And what's measured here is how far away you are from a data center. So here is 0 to about 25 miles away from a data center. So if you live between 0 and 25 miles from a data center, if you're in the range of the electric utility that has to serve that data center when it drops in with its huge electric load, with its huge water demand, with all the traffic and pollution and everything else that it brings, you see very, very little in the way of cost decreases. In fact, if you compare it to places that are further and further away, this is about 225 miles away from a data center, you can see that the electric prices going down happens much more the further away you are from a data center. This shows the opposite. This shows the places where electric prices are soaring. The price increases, and it's the same deal. This is how far away you are from a data center. If you're from 0 to 25 miles away, compare that to this. The comparison between your electricity price increases if you're near a data center versus your electricity price decreases if you're near a data center couldn't be more clear. This is me with a gold marker marking off the difference. That's not in the original graph, but it focuses your attention on how when you're near a data center, you're less likely to have lower electric prices. You can see how low it is compared to the further away you get. But if you're near a data center, the nearer you are to a data center, the higher your electric prices go. And if you're really near one, if you're in this block here of like within 25 miles, your electric prices are skyrocketing. And that is not a mistake. That is being done on purpose because the Trump administration won't make these big donors who are in crypto world and data center world bring their own clean energy or provide their own clean water, for that matter, to the grid. So what they do is they arrive, they dump a huge amount of demand into the existing grid, and that means that new and more expensive units have to come online. And as those new and more expensive units have to come online, the price goes up and up and up, because in almost every grid, it's the most expensive unit running at any minute that sets the price for the entire grid in that minute. So if you can drive up demand, you drive up these huge, inefficient, polluting, expensive power plants, and the price goes through the roof. That is precisely why you are seeing this huge increase in cost when you're near a data center, and almost impossible to find a decrease in cost if you're near a data center. So problem one, energy emergency one, caused by the Trump administration to pay off its big crypto donors, is this. It's the data center bomb falling on regular electric utility ratepayers who suddenly watch their bills skyrocket. Here's the other bomb. This is the plot in the Trump administration for the sake of their big fossil fuel donors to try to hamper and hinder and injure clean energy. They have a big lie, which is to say that clean energy is more expensive. It's clean energy that's driving costs on the grid. Oh my gosh, this expensive clean energy. Wrong. That just isn't true. That's a complete fabrication. And this graph shows the Texas grid. So this is an illustration of how that plays out. Texas has a unique grid. It's unique to Texas. It doesn't interact with the other grids the way most of the grids do. They have interconnections and they can interact with each other. Texas is isolated. That's why that big freeze in Texas that shut down all the power and caused people to freeze, that took place because that grid was unified and they couldn't call in power from elsewhere. So this graph does two things. It takes a look at 1 month, August, back in 2018, and it looks at what power cost at different levels of demand on the grid. So in 2018, if you had 40 gigawatts of demand, then you are paying about 20 cents per megawatt hour. And it stayed about the same until demand got bigger. You get up to 50 megawatts, you get up to 60 megawatts, and then it starts to spike here. And it hits $75 per megawatt hour once it approaches 70 gigawatts of load. So what's important here is the comparison. In 2018, these were the prices in August for that increment of load during August. This, the yellow graph, is 2024, 6 years later. What happened to the Texas grid between 2018 and 2024? What happened to the Texas grid between 2018 and 2024 is that huge amounts of clean energy came onto the grid. In fact, last year, 95% of the new power coming on the United States grid was clean energy. It was solar, it was wind, and it was battery. 95%. So between 2018 and 2024, you see this move in the Texas grid. And look what happens. Pick, let's say, 60 megawatts of load at a given moment in August of 2024. You paid $20 per megawatt hour. For the exact same circumstance, 6 years earlier, you would have paid 35, maybe $40. $20, twice as much, basically. The reason the costs went down from 2018 to 2024 was new, inexpensive, clean energy coming on the grid. Why is it inexpensive? It's inexpensive because wind is free. It's inexpensive because solar is free. Once you've built the infrastructure to capture the solar rays, once you've built the infrastructure to capture the wind flowing by, God made those resources free. A fossil fuel plant, you still have to build it, but once you've built it, you've got to bring in the fossil fuel, pipe in the fossil fuel, burn the fossil fuel. It's expensive. And so almost always the unit that is setting the price on the grid for electricity is a fossil fuel unit, because they're the most expensive one, so they set the price for the whole grid. And you can see the difference. Let's call this 68 megawatts of load, just so we're comparing these 2 points. Back in 2018, that would have been a $75 per megawatt hour cost. $75, and yet here it's 25. It's a third the cost on the Texas grid because all that clean energy came on. And you got to get way out here before the price spikes when those polluting, expensive fossil fuel plants have to come on at 80 plus megawatts of load to even begin to match the prices from 6 years earlier. Clean wind and solar power save consumers money. So when the Trump administration says it's going to inhibit, hinder, injure clean energy development, that's like backing this back out of the grid. Now it starts to look more like 2018. Now, if you're buying electricity at this level of grid load, you're paying 3 times as much. 3 times as much. And this is deliberate. You don't think the Trump people don't understand this? They know perfectly well. And here's the deal. The extra 2/3 of your cost here that comes out of your pocket if you're in Texas, because the clean energy isn't there lowering the costs, that comes out of your pocket. Where does it go? Where does it go? I'll tell you where it goes. It goes to the fossil fuel units that had to get called up to meet that amount of load. The most expensive units on the grid have to be called up to meet that load, and they drive the price up. So if you're a fossil fuel billionaire and you own a bunch of polluting power plants, sometimes, particularly with clean energy around, they're sitting idle. They're not being called up. They're too expensive to be called up because clean energy is in there beating them. So if you own those plants, you want to go and talk to the Trump administration and say, hey, knock that clean energy out of the grid. I want my polluting, expensive plant to run again because that's money in my pocket. And if you're selling that plant to fossil fuel, you go to the Trump administration and you say, hey, clobber those clean energy guys. I gave you good money. Clobber those clean energy guys. And now I get to sell all that fossil fuel to burn to run those expensive plants. So the people that make a bundle out of knocking down clean energy are the fossil fuel people who cut that deal for hundreds of millions of dollars to Trump's campaign in return for him clobbering their rivals by making it difficult to develop clean energy projects. And what they don't want you to know is that this is on purpose and that this is for fossil fuel. They don't want you to know how this works. They don't want you to know about how the most expensive units get called up as demand grows, that when you take out the clean energy, even more expensive units get called up, that those are the polluting fossil fuel units that tend to set the price. It is a massive transfer of money from the pockets of ratepayers whose electric utility rates go up to the fossil fuel industry in return for all the political money they gave Donald Trump. That's the deal. It is a huge transfer of wealth from ratepayers to big fossil fuel donors. And what they're hoping is that you won't know this. They're hoping you'll blame it on the electric utility that sends you the bill. They're hoping that you won't notice that behind that soaring electric utility bill is manipulation of the grid to knock out clean energy, to drive up prices. And if that's not bad enough, what you then find out is that the climate consequences of all that fossil fuel pollution start coming home to roost as well. We did some work on this in the Budget Committee. I'll use 3 quick slides. These are places where non-renewal rates for homeowners insurance are increasing. What is the non-renewal rate, you may ask, for homeowners insurance? That is how often the insurance company says to you, their longtime customer, hey, thanks for being my longtime customer, but you're fired now. I don't want your property. I can't insure it. There's too much climate risk. So if you look at where it's really spiking, where'd you guess? Florida. Florida. Because they have huge risk from flooding, sea level rise, hurricanes and storms. Their whole insurance market is melting down. Where else? Out west, where wildfires are making properties uninsurable. Tell you what, if you know somebody in Florida, ask them about their home insurance. Just do that for me. If you know somebody who lives in Florida, ask them about their home insurance. You will hear an earful from them. And it's not just getting shot down, it's also that insurance rates are going up. And again, look where, along these coastal areas, along these wildfire-prone areas. So what the Trump administration is doing to reward its big fossil fuel mega donors isn't just to transfer money from your pockets to the big donors through electric utility rates. It's not just done to transfer money from your pockets to their big crypto donors by letting them irresponsibly just dump their demand on the grid. They're also breaking down the home insurance market so that not only are the insurers saying to people, I can't insure you any longer, your climate risk is too great, but they're also saying, wow, if I'm going to insure you, we got to really raise our rates. And so these are premium increases, 100%, 200%, 300% you can find in these areas. In Florida, the average homeowner's insurance is $14,000. If you go to Miami-Dade, it's $21,000 for homeowner's insurance. You go to Louisiana here, it's $11,000. You got people who try to buy a home in these places, and they get the deal together, they get the mortgage together, they show the realtor that they can make the nut on the mortgage, and then they try to get insurance to close the deal, and they can't get insurance, and the deal falls apart. There are young families who can't buy homes because of the skyrocketing prices or because the insurers won't insure them because it's too dangerous. And guess what that does? Where does that land? That lands in home values declining.